Hey there, clan, and welcome to my experience. I don't know what I'm going to call this, but this is a good temporary name for the moment. But I don't do it that often, so I haven't come up with a name yet. Um, with certain franchises of games, I have done videos in which I've talked about, of course, my experience with the games and the developers. Some more than others, of course, like Mass Effect, Dragon Age, BioWare. BioWare have a lot of history with of course, one of the first games I remember playing, of course. Well, not the first game, one of the first games that got me into hardcore, of course, is Mass Effect, Jade Empire, and the various other ones, of course. I do apologise, I need to keep shit. I just realised I did something bad there. But I have done it with another developer, of course, and that is CD Projekt Red, where I've only really played 3 of their games. Those 3 games being the Witcher trilogy, of course. I have not completed Witcher 1 just because I don't think I can. It's just too janky for me personally. But I have played Witcher 2 and Witcher 3. But there's another developer that I haven't really talked about, and another particular franchise that I haven't talked about that I do enjoy, and I haven't really got hardcore into it just yet. But the next installment of the game might just do that for me. And that, of course, is the Fallout franchise. Now, Bethesda, as a developer, have made too many games to make games, but overall, I haven't had that much experience with Bethesda outside of Fallout, in all honesty. Now, that could be, I might be mistaken. Maybe I've played games in the past where they were Bethesda games. I just don't realize it now. Now, I'm not talking about Bethesda published games, because they have published a lot of games that I do like Dishonored, Wolfenstein, and a few other ones, but I do want to talk about Fallout and my overall experience with it. Now, the first ever Fallout game I ever played was Fallout 3 on Xbox 360, and do you want to know why I picked this up? There's a reason I picked this up. For this guy. This little figure. I picked up because of this little figure. I had heard of Fallout 3, but it was never a game that caught my attention too much. But I saw this, which came with this game, in this little box here, for £30. And I said, why the hell not? So, yeah, that is pretty much the only reason I picked up Fallout, is because I wanted this figure, because it's pretty damn cool. And I've had it in this original box. I do take it out every now and then. But yeah, that is the reason I picked up Fallout 3. No other reason other than I wanted this cool ass figure, which I still have to this day. I can't remember if I got... I do think it was either out relatively recently, or it'd been like maybe a year since its release. But I picked this up for the figure. But then I decided to play the game, because of course I'm going to play the game. And I actually really enjoyed it. It is, of course, a bit different from the games I usually play. Normally I'm used to voice acting, and also slightly more different than the RPGs is. The skill system, the characters. It is one of the few games I actually ended up role-playing a little bit, actually playing the characters. Of course, the introduction with Liam Neeson as your father just made me go, okay, I'm very happy right now. And of course, the voice of Ron Perlman, which just made me go, oh, lordy, lordy, lordy. But that was my first exposure to the Fallout universe, and it actually got me kind of intrigued to it. Now, it didn't make me obsess over it. I haven't played Fallout 3 or any of the Fallout games on PC, if I'm going to be honest, just because I haven't had a computer that could run it. Now, my computer right now could probably run it, but I don't know. I put a lot of hours into Fallout 3, and I just didn't. I don't feel like replaying it. It's one of those few games that well, it's not one of those few games. There are very few games that I will go back and replay multiple times, even RPGs. You could probably guess the ones I've done it with, like, of course, the Mass Effect franchise, Dragon Age, Witcher, I've done it quite a few times, Jade Empire, Wolfenstein, which isn't an RPG, but games like that. I don't go back and replay a lot of games unless I really love the game or really enjoy it. Fallout 3, I did one full playthrough where I basically just wandered and did everything. I must have avoided the main plot quite largely, in all honesty, and I had a lot of fun with it. It was interesting. Of course, repetitive voice acting kind of got on me. It wasn't the best looking game at the time, but it still was interesting. The aesthetic was unique. I like the idea of the post-apocalyptic world, because this is a post-apocalyptic world. It's after the apocalypse, but it's sort of like a while after the apocalypse. Society has slowly started to rebuild, and Fallout 3 did show the worst and the best of humanity. Some people who were completely and despicably evil, and people who were genuinely good people. But it did show how the world might evolve. It's definitely an alternative universe one, of course. I do not know too much about the Fallout history. I know a little bit about the war, basically, which led to the destruction and nuclear fallout and all that. I know a little bit about that, but I've never been that interested in the game to actually go, I want to read up on the lore. I do know enough that it was a very, around about the time, it was very heavily inspired by the 50s. It says, I do know there was a lot of propaganda. The US was not in a good place. That Canada, basically, US and Canada were going to war. The Chinese were going to war. I know a little bit about it, but I don't know as much as other people do. But I am actually getting a bit more intrigued in that, especially with Fallout 4, which is piquing my interest a little bit more, because I actually like, oh my, it's actually, you're going to be playing someone who was alive before the bombs fell. That is going to be really interesting to me. That's what piqued my interest. It made me go, really? We're actually going to get to know a little bit more about what life was like before the bombs fell. And that, to me, piqued my interest more than anything. And I do understand that if you are a massive Fallout fan, that you've dedicated hours into reading up the lore, just like myself, of course, with Dragon Age, Mass Effect, The Witcher. You probably know all this, but this is going to be something interesting for me as someone who doesn't know that much about the Fallout lore beyond the games. So I am interested in that, and Fallout 3 did give me a good taste of that, and of course with the DLCs, Point Lookout, Mothership Zeta, Broken Steel, and various other ones, of course. I definitely enjoyed Fallout 3 a lot. I didn't replay it after I beat it, and then even when I went into the Broken Steel DLC, after I was done with the main plot and the majority of the side missions, I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm done. I'm kind of done with that. However, maybe I'll go back and play Fallout 3 just before Fallout 4 comes out, just to refresh myself a little bit. Maybe I'll do it on PC, I'm not too sure for once I have the money. But I definitely enjoyed Fallout 3. It definitely was a good introduction to the series, in my opinion. And I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. It definitely it intrigued me while I was playing it, but after I was done with it, I had no real interest to go back and replay it, or actually even look up a lot of the history of the lore, even though it was some aspects of it were interesting to me. But I can understand how someone can become obsessed with the Fallout franchise, especially the history and the lore. I definitely agree with that. Now, of course, after Fallout, of course, came the Obsidian Fallout New Vegas. Now, this was made by Obsidian, but published by Bethesda. I do know that much. This is actually, I have still not beaten this game. I don't know why. I just stopped playing it one day and just never went back to it. I got pretty far. I did a lot of side stuff, but I just stopped playing Fallout New Vegas and then never went back to it. Unlike Fallout 3, I just didn't feel as invested in Fallout New Vegas as I did with that. Now, I can understand that some people think New Vegas is actually better than Fallout 3, but Fallout New Vegas, while it did give me, definitely more insight into the Fallout universe, and I was intrigued by the different factions, like the Caesar's Legion. In all honesty, it wouldn't surprise me that if something like that did happen in the real world, there would be a rise of some like a savage society that would indulge slavery and all that. Of course, the NCR, which is basically the new United States government, and then of course the Khans, the bombers. It definitely got a little bit more political and also gave you an insight of how the world has evolved and all that. So I did enjoy that aspect of it. I enjoyed seeing how different people viewed the different factions in the world and how they were always at war with each other and how they disagreed, and also they showed you that not everyone in every faction is evil, except for Caesar's Legion. Everyone who's agreed with Caesar's Legion are evil bastards. They all deserve to die. Slavers, no. I think I gunned down every slaver I ever saw in the Fallout franchise. If you're a slaver, you didn't last long with me. I either pull out my minigun or pull out my plasma gun. It was just like, sorry buddy, boom, no deal. I didn't care about the money. I didn't care about slaving. No, all die. So I definitely, Fallout New Vegas definitely gave you a bit more of an insight into that, of the different cultures and how they evolved and all that. But it was at the same time, I didn't think it was as good as Fallout 3 personally. I do understand that the mechanics were a lot more deals, the guns and all that. I don't know what it was. It's just I never connected with Fallout New Vegas like I did with Fallout 3. And even then, there wasn't a big connection to the Fallout franchise. But I might go back to Fallout New Vegas one day, maybe even just before Fallout 4 comes out, just to just to see maybe at the time when I was playing it, I just wasn't in the right mindset to play it. Maybe I actually do need to go back and play it, maybe on PC this time, as same as Fallout 3. But I definitely... Fallout New Vegas intrigued me a little bit more. It definitely interested me a bit more, the fascination and all. Now, the thing overall that combined with Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3 that intrigued me the most were the vaults. And the vaults interested me because every time I found out what each vault did in the game, just made me go, what the fuck is wrong with you people? I mean, literally, there is not a good vault. Every vault was some sort of test. And that was the one aspect of the lore that I did look up, was the vaults. Just to see, like, how fucked up these vaults were. Like, there was a vault that was purely designed. One of the most horrifying ones for me personally was in Fallout 3. I can't remember the vault number, but you have to go and get sheet music to it. You have to go get sheet music for an old lady, for a quest for an old lady, and then get her radio frequency. I can't remember the vault's number, but reading the lore in that one, that the entire facility was pumping subliminal messages through the music that they were making to turn people violent. And you can kind of guess what happened. They all killed each other. Yeah, that kind of thing was like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? And then there was another one, I can't remember what game it was, the one where basically you voted on who would be the overseer. They voted on who would be the overseer, but as the overseer, you had to go and kill yourself to keep the vault going. You had to walk into a room and you were never seen again. You were presumed to be dead. You were to sacrifice someone for the greater good, and you were to be voted for. You were voted for. You had to put yourself... You basically, I think it was... I can't remember how it worked, but it was just like someone would be voted to be in the election, and then you'd be voted on. And that was fucked up. And then you find out the whole story is that eventually there were only 5 people left in the vault, and it turns out the whole vault's reasoning was it wanted to prove that you were decent human beings and you would not send someone to their death just because you got fancy stuff. And then the people all killed themselves. Well, some guy killed them all and then he shot himself. Yeah, pretty fucked up, those vaults. Yeah, a lot of those vaults were pretty fucked up. Those ones in the games were the most horrifying for me personally, but then I found out about the one where there was an entire vault filled with women and only one guy, and then an entire vault of only one woman and entirely filled with men. Both of those are horrifying. I'm sorry. They are horrifying. And I'm not going to say what... in my opinion, they're both equally horrifying. Like, I'm sorry, there is no positive to being the only gender in a sea of the other gender. I feel sorry for the guy who was in the vault with all women, and I feel sorry for the woman who was in the vault with all guys. Because neither one of them had a good life. Neither one of them. I'm sorry, neither one of them had a good life. There is no which one was worse, in my opinion. They're both equally horrible, in my opinion. Just that was the one thing about the Fallout franchise that was like, holy fucking shit, what the hell is wrong with you people? What the hell is wrong with this Vault Tech company? And that was the only thing that kind of got me intrigued in that, because I was like, why would you do this? Why would you put people through these despicable experiments? Now, some of them were quite tame. One vault was given guns, one vault was given more guns than food, one vault was given a gig, one vault did this, one vault did that, but all of them were equally horrifying. The only ones that were safe were the ones where the rich people were. Yeah, that should say a lot, shouldn't it? But yeah, that was the only thing that kind of interested me in the aspect of the Fallout universe, was the idea of these vaults. And yeah, and it just made me think, that's one thing it made me think, like, if that happened in real life and there was a company that was all about vaults where you could survive a nuclear apocalypse, it would be the rich people who would get the best vaults, wouldn't it? And we all common people would all die because of money. But yeah, that's just something that did interest me a lot. And I definitely looked up a few things about that, and I might look up some more stuff to prep myself for Fallout 4, because I am going to get Fallout 4. I don't know if I'll get it on release day, just all comes out in my circumstances at the time. But yeah, that's pretty much the way I can wrap this up, in all honesty, is that's pretty much my experience with the Fallout franchise, is that's it's a franchise that I enjoyed, and I definitely respect and understand the importance of it and the gaming world. I definitely respect that, and Bethesda are a good developer and a good publisher in my opinion. They make really good games so far that I've played. I've enjoyed most of the Bethesda games I've played, and most of the games that they publish. I say Dishonored, in my opinion, is one of my favourite games just because of how unique it was in the universe that interested me. So I'm definitely interested to pick up Fallout 4 when it comes out and see, am I going to enjoy it? Am I going to have fun with it? Because the reason that Fallout 4 intrigues me a little bit more than Fallout 4 and Fallout 3 is a few things. One, a actual voiced character. That's something that I think is definitely where we're heading for the gaming industry, is that a voiced character in every game is going to be that, unfortunately. So people who are bitching and moaning about it, you just kind of have to accept it, that we are moving to a point where in every RPG our characters will be voiced. It's just where we're going. Now, I do expect that maybe there'll be a mod to fix that, probably. Fix that will remove the thing. I half expect that to come out like that, in all honesty. But the other things that interest me, of course, is the fact that you're going to be playing a character who was alive during the time of the war, basically, when the bombs fell. That your character was alive during then. And they're coming into a world that they are just like, what the fuck happened? 200 years? There's going to be some shock in there, in my opinion. And I definitely feel as though they are going to have flashbacks for the character of what it was like before the bombs fell. I'm probably going to play a female character, and that'll be a first, because I normally only play male characters when it comes to the Fallout games, just because the fact that the female character is voiced by Courtney Taylor, and I'm very, very tempted to make Jack. What? Judge me all you want. But yeah, the main aspect of the character is the fact that you are someone who was alive during when the bombs fell, basically 200 years ago. I'm definitely interested, but that's the main facet that interests me the most. Also the fact that you have to build your own towns and a little bit more hefty on the crafting thing, that definitely intrigues me a lot as well. So I'm pretty much sure that's everything I've got to say on that. As I say, the story is the main draw for me for Fallout 4, just because of how interesting it is, and it is actually making me go, okay, I may actually have to look up some of this lore. But yeah, I shared my experience with you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed me sharing my experience with the Fallout franchise. And of course, let me know what your experience is with the Fallout franchise. What was your first Fallout game, and what did you think of it? Did it hook you? Did it make you interesting? And also, what do you think is the worst vault in the entire universe? Because me, this is a freaking four-way tie in my opinion. Other than that, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, I'm Scottish Warren 92. I'll see you all next time. Ciao for now.